Hello everyone, I welcome you all to today's lecture. In my previous lecture, I have explained about the concept of social group, the definition and meaning of social group, basic characteristics of social group, and the benefits of social group. Very briefly, I have also talked about the different types of group that exist in the society, like primary group, secondary group, in group, out group, and reference group. So, in today's lecture, we are going to learn about primary and secondary group. So, I shall be explaining about the basic concept of primary group, its characteristics, the meaning and definition of secondary group, the characteristic of secondary group, and then I shall be talking about the difference between primary group and secondary group. So first let us try to recapitulate what I had explained in my previous lecture regarding the definition of group. So very briefly, I shall be talking about some of the important definitions given by social scientists like Marshall Jones has says that a social group is two or more people between whom there is an established pattern of interaction. MacIver says that by a group we mean any collection of human beings who are brought into social relationship with one another. Williams says a social group is a given aggregate of people playing interrelated roles and recognized by themselves or others as a unity of interaction. So I have explained about these definitions of group in my previous lecture. So without wasting much of time, I shall be explaining about first primary group. So the term primary group was introduced by an American social psychologist Charles Hutton Coley in his book Social Organization. So C.H. Coley is the first person to introduce the term primary group. The primary group are also called as the face-to-face group. So when we live in the society, we become member of various types of groups. Now, when we are in our very close relationship, like in a family, we become the member of a primary group. So family is one of the most suitable example of primary group. In a family, what happens, all of you know, we talk together, we sit together, we eat together, and there is a close relationship among the family members. So there is a face-to-face interaction among family members. So in a primary group, there is close relationship, there is close bonding among the members, and the members interact with one another very frequently, and there is a face-to-face interaction in primary group. So in primary group, the members come in direct contact with one another and they try to express themselves in front of others. There is a close bonding among the members of primary group. The members of primary group are also very much related to one another, and now we are going to discuss some of the important characteristics of primary group. The first one is physical proximity. In a primary group, the members become very close to one another. So they are the members who very frequently meet and they express themselves in front of one another. So, in order that the relations of the people may be close, it is very much necessary that their contacts also be close. So, seeing and talking with one another, exchange of ideas and opinions within the family, this makes it possible the existence of primary group. For example, studying together, playing together, eating and dwelling together. These are the things which happen in a primary group. So the physical proximity provides an opportunity for the development of primary groups. So secondly, there is small size. The primary group are smaller in size. If we look at the size of the primary group, they are smaller in size, and the effective participation of member is possible only when the group is of a small size. So the smaller the group, the more intimate it is. So the increase in the size of the group may have a negative impact on the intimacy of the members. So always remember that the primary group are smaller in size so that they can interact with one another. The third characteristic is similarity of background. So in a primary group, there is similarity of background. The members of a primary group must not only be close and near and dear to each other, but also approximately equally experienced and intelligent. So MacIver says there is a level on which every group must dwell, and the person who is too far above or below it disturbs the process of group participation. So, in a primary group, there is similarity of background in terms of, let us say, intelligence, in terms of, you can say, economic background, uh, similarity of background in terms of their maybe caste, maybe gender. So, in a primary group, we find some commonality among the members. Then the next characteristic is limited self-interest. You see, the members of the primary group have limited self-interest. The primary group is not formed for fulfilling the interest of the members. The members of primary group subordinate their personal interest to the group interest. The common interest must predominate in their mind. So the members of the primary group are not self-interested, rather there is a limitation in their self-interest. The group interest plays the pivotal role in primary group. And then in terms of stability, if we look at the existence of the primary group is relatively more stable than the other groups, like the secondary group. Uh, it is very much stable. For example, a family, a neighborhood, a peer group, if you talk about, or your close relatives, they are very much stable. So primary group is a stable group. Then there is direct cooperation, coordination, mutual aid, helping one another. These are the basic features of a primary group. In a primary group, the members work directly and in cooperation with each other so that they can achieve their common interest. They do not act independently, rather, they work together for the fulfillment of their common interest, and they participate in the same process. Okay, of course, there may be a division of labor in a primary group, but yet the members work together, they act together. Now, I shall be talking about the um, importance of primary group. Now, what important role the primary group plays? Why do men form primary groups? What is it that the members achieve from grouping which they cannot achieve living independently? When we talk about this primary group, the first thing is to be impressed about primary group is that it is a medium through which we learn culture. Not only with primary group but also with secondary group and other groups. Groups in common term. Group plays a very pivotal role in the process of socialization of members of the society, socialization of individuals. So if you look at the importance of primary group is a great humanizing agent. The primary group enacts the role of a great humanizing agent. For example, family. Family is the immediate primary group in which a child finds itself as soon as it is born. So we talk about family, talk about peer groups and the neighborhood. These all play very important role in the socialization or humanizing the child. Primary group teach the individuals the social norms, standards, morals, beliefs, values, customs, traditions, etc. So primary group can be called as a great agent of socialization. Then second, development of personality. C.H. Cooley is of the opinion that the primary group, particularly the family, is the chief molder of personality. So primary groups are the source of our notion of love, freedom, justice, etc. And these kind of social values, social norms are inculcated in the mind of the individuals, most importantly in the primary group. So the qualities of behavior that a child picks up during the early years in primary groups find their expressions in his adult life. So the primary groups plays a very important role in personality development of individuals. Thirdly, primary groups fulfill the psychological needs of the people. Now, Maslow has talked about the needs, the theory of Maslow, but we are not going to talk about that. Maybe in my some other lecture, I shall talk about that Maslow's theories of need. But if you look at primary group, individuals get their immediate satisfaction, the mental happiness, the contentment, security in the primary group. When we are within the primary group, we feel very much secure. For example, when you play with your friends, when you attend classes with your friends, or when you are inside your own community with your neighborhood, you feel very much secure. you feel very much satisfied, and the things which you cannot share with other members, you can share your own problems as well as happiness with the members of primary group. So the people get the advantage of companionship, sympathy, and exchange of thoughts and feelings within the primary group. So, primary group fulfills the psychological needs of the people. The next, united in process. Here, what I mean to say, united in process means the members participate in the same group process. The group is essentially a mode of sharing a common experience. So the members of the primary group are united together, and there is a strong bonding among the members. They work together. There is a face-to-face interaction, and there is a close proximity among the members of primary group. Then primary group works as an agent of social control. You see, primary groups not only provide security to the members, but also it controls the behavior of the members. For example, when a child does something wrong in the family members are the first one to point out the mistakes of the child. So they control the behavior, the activities, and they shape the ideology, and they develop the values within the mind of a child. That's why primary group is also an agent of social control. It not only provides different kinds of social security to the members, rather it also controls the behavior and attitude of the members. So these are the importance of primary group, why primary group is very important, and why it is necessary to be a member of primary group. So now I shall be talking about the secondary group. So secondary group can be called as just the opposite of primary group. So whatever I have talked about while discussing primary group, the opposite of primary group is secondary group. That means it is larger in size, it is superficial and undefined. The relationship is not that much close in secondary group. The communication in secondary group is indirect, and the members seldom come face to face with one another. So let us look at some of the important definitions of secondary group. Agban says the group which provide experience lacking in intimacy are called secondary groups. So we do not find a close intimacy among the members of secondary group. Mujumdar says when face-to-face contacts are not present in the relations of members, we have secondary groups. Another definition is given by Davis, who says secondary group can be roughly defined as the opposite of everything already said about primary group. So from this we can be very sure that the secondary group are the groups which are opposite to primary group, and they are larger in size. There is lack of intimacy among the members, and the members seldom meet with one another. Now I shall be explaining about some of the important characteristics of secondary group. The first one is formal and impersonal relations. In secondary group, we see that it does not exercise primary influence over its members. The members need not meet face to face. They perform their jobs, carry out the orders, pay their dues, and still may not have seen or may not have a close relationship with one another in a secondary group. When you are working in an organization, you may be receiving your payments from the person who is in the treasury office, but you may not be knowing that person. So the secondary group are larger in size. I have already explained about it. There is options of membership. You see, in secondary group, the membership may be optional. The membership is not compulsory. Uh, just what happens opposite in primary group. Some of the membership may be taken officially in secondary group, and there is a dominance of secondary relations. And the secondary groups are characterized by indirect, impersonal, contractual, and non-inclusive relations. The formal rules are there in secondary group. There is formal rules and regulations. The formal rules and regulations have to be followed by the members of the secondary group, and a secondary group is regulated by formal rules and regulations. There is a formal authority also, and there is clear-cut division of labor in secondary group. There is specific ends and interests. So some of the secondary groups may be formed keeping in mind certain objectives and fulfilling certain needs and interests of the people. Then limited influence on personality. So as we have discussed earlier, as I have explained that primary group plays a pivotal role in influencing the personality of the members and plays a very dominant role in socializing the individuals. In case of secondary group, there is limited influence on personality. So students, these are the important uh, characteristics of secondary group. Now, very briefly, I shall be explaining the difference between primary group and secondary group. So already I have explained many points which I shall be talking about in this difference between primary group and secondary group. For example, nature of social relations. The first difference we find between primary group and secondary group in terms of nature of social relations. The social relations in primary group are face-to-face, direct, intimate, personal, whereas in secondary group it is indirect, impersonal, non-intimate, and the members do not meet frequently. Secondly, size. The primary group is smaller in size, whereas secondary group are larger in size. In terms of communication, there is direct, quick, and effective communication among the members of primary group, whereas the communication is indirect in secondary group. The nature of cooperation is very close, and the members seek help and cooperation from one another in primary group, whereas in secondary group the cooperation is less. The members of the secondary group may not be knowing one another. Then group structure. In terms of group structure, the primary group may not have a very structure of the group. Rather, this is very informal, and they may not have a very strong sense of authority. Whereas in secondary group, the structure is very much defined, it is very much regulated. So thank you very much for attending today's lecture, and in my next lecture I shall be talking about culture. So let's stop today. Have a nice day.